What's up, guys? Welcome back to another man versus deer video. In today's video, we're doing another installment on the terrain series. We're talking all about fingers, what they are, and how to hunt them. Let's jump into it.
This is probably one of my bigger bucks to date.
Guys, I cannot believe that actually worked.
Looks like a double long shot. It was hot. Really hot.
What is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. If you're new to the channel, make sure that you like the video, make sure that you drop a comment, especially if you have any questions, and as always, make sure you smack that subscribe button so you don't miss out on more awesome content like this video. So today's video is another installment in the terrain series, and if you don't know what that is, I recommend watching this video here, which is the introductory video to the terrain series. It covers the most common terrain features you're going to encounter when you're hunting white-tailed deer, and it's a brief overview of each one and how to hunt them. The videos I'm doing, like this video here, break down each of those terrain features individually and talk specifics on how to find them on a topographical map, and then details on how to hunt them. Topic of today's video is going to be fingers. And if you don't know what a finger is basically a long, skinny section of terrain that juts into a different terrain type. It can be a long, skinny section of woods that jumps out into a lake. It could be a long, skinny section of CRP that jumps into a crop field, or it could be a skinny section of woods that juts out into like a hay field. All of those are considered different variables of fingers. Most of what you and I are probably going to encounter are going to jut into like a hay field or a crop field. Now we're going to talk about how to hunt a finger, and there's a couple different ways to do that. We're going to stick to talking about big buck bedding because my guess is if you're watching this video and you're wanting to increase your knowledge about terrain features, you are after big bucks, and so we're going to focus our conversation there. You're going to want to scout these fingers before you hunt them. If they got a trail running through the middle of them, you want to know where that is. You don't want to be hunting one of these not knowing that there's beds or not beds at the end of them and potentially wasting hunts. So before you make a battle plan to hunt one of these things, make sure that you scout them, and you scout them thoroughly. When you scout them, you're going to want to focus a lot of your efforts around the tip of the finger. That's where your big buck bedding is going to be. And in order for a big buck to be using that bed, you're going to need a wind that's blowing straight down the finger or some variation of that. It can alter slightly, but it does need to be blowing down the finger. A lot of times big bucks will alter their beds depending on how the wind is going, and I'm going to throw this up on a topographical map and show you what I mean. But if you've got a wind that's blowing straight down the finger, a lot of times your deer or your big buck bed is going to be here. Say that wind shifts a little bit during the day, that big buck is probably going to get up and walk over here. Say it shifts back this direction, he's probably going to get up and walk over here. My point with saying all this is that it's not uncommon for there to be several beds at the ends of these fingers, just depending on which variation of blowing down that finger the wind is doing. If you scout one of these and you identify some buck beds, there's a couple of ways to attack these, and I'm going to break them down. If you scouted it and you think that that buck is getting it from his bed and walking back down the finger, the best route is to hunt just off the side of the trail that's coming out of the finger. So say you've got a wind that's blowing this way, you've got a confirmed buck bed or buck beds here, and you know that there's a really heavily used trail coming back out that finger. What you would want to do is set up just off to the side of where this deer is going to exit this finger at. And the reason you're going to set off to the side is so your wind doesn't blow down to that deer. But you also want to set up close enough that you can shoot to the trail he's going to use when it comes out. Pretty straightforward. The other approach that you can take if you have a confirmed buck bed here, but say your scouting doesn't tell you that he's walking back down the finger, say your scouting tells you that he's getting up and continuing across the field, is relatively easy. All you have to do is identify where that buck is entering, the closest wood line, and because he's basically going to be upwind of you, you don't have to worry about wind that much. You just set up just inside the woods, maybe 20 yards inside the woods, and when that deer gets up from his bed and continues across that field and makes it to the nearest wood line, where you know he enters via scouting. You're going to set up just about 20 yards inside it. He's probably going to walk in there and stop to gather his bearings, and that gives you a good opportunity to put an arrow into that deer. The second way that you can hunt these fingers is just assuming that deer are using them from travel routes to get from point A to point B. These are they get very, very heavy use during the rut. If you got a food source in the area, they can be a good way to get to and from that. You don't have to worry about wind as much in this scenario. If you've got a destination that deer are heading for, they're pretty much going to be heading there in any wind. All you've got to do is identify what the wind is doing that day and then set up accordingly. So, same finger we're going to use as an example, but say you've got a trail that's running right down the middle of it and it's got heavy use, and you can tell the deer are using this to cross the field in the safest way possible. And say you've got a wind on the day you're going to hunt that blows this way. You're basically going to set up downwind of the trail, but to where you can still shoot to it. Pretty straightforward. Say you've got a day where the wind is going to blow this way. Same thing, you just adjust your stand to where you're downwind of that trail, but you can shoot to it. Relatively straightforward, kind of similar to hunting a bench or a funnel or a pinch point. And that's basically the two best scenarios that I found to try to ambush a deer at a finger. Biggest thing to do is scout these so you have the intel and you know what's going on. That way you know if deer are using them as travel routes, or you know if anything decent is bedded in there. Once you have that information, it's relatively easy to put a plan together. So that brings us to the end of the video, guys. I hope this video helped you guys out. If it did, make sure you check out the other videos in the terrain series. I also have about 4 more videos in this series coming out. Make sure you like the video, drop a comment if you have any questions, and as always, smack that subscribe button. I really appreciate you guys watching, and I will catch you in the next one.